Long Island medium. Theresa Caputo celebrated her parents' birthdays with a lavish party this year. The lights, the music, the crowd of guests, it was truly a sight to behold. But even in the midst of the festivities, a strange thing was noticed. None of Teresa's family was present. After the ceremony, when many people were curious and wanted to know more about the matter, the real story came to light. It is known that Teresa personally invited her ex-husband Larry Caputo to this special event. According to Teresa, her parents have always seen Larry as their own child, and it seemed right to them to invite him to their birthday party. But the other family members didn't take it well. They thought Larry's presence at such a sensitive event might make them uncomfortable, so none of them came. As a result, even amidst the glittering celebrations, there was a kind of silent emptiness, which Teresa herself felt. Finally, Teresa said that she invited Larry only to honor her parents and did not intend to create any controversy or misunderstanding. However, she also realized that this decision created new distances within the family. The story becomes a silent reflection of complex emotions: love, respect, misunderstanding, and the tension of relationships. The early summer sun dipped behind the ocean horizon as Long Island prepared for one of its most extravagant celebrations of the season, the dual birthday party of Theresa Caputo's beloved parents, Nick and Veronica. Months of planning had gone into the event. Teresa had arranged everything with heartfelt precision: the soft white lanterns that floated above the backyard garden, the live jazz band that played her parents' favorite Sinatra melodies, and the sprawling buffet that smelled of garlic knots, pasta, and roasted herbs. As the first guests arrived, dressed in shimmering summer attire, whispers began to spread among them. They looked around, searching for familiar faces: Teresa's brother, her cousins, her aunts, her nieces, but none of them were there. Still, the party pulsed with life. The music flowed, glasses clinked, and laughter rose into the air. Teresa moved from table to table, greeting guests with her signature warmth. But behind her bright smile was a heaviness that only she felt. 3 days earlier, Teresa had made a choice, one she thought would honor her parents more than anything else. She picked up her phone, hesitated for a moment, then dialed a number she hadn't dialed in months. Larry Caputo, her ex-husband. They had divorced years ago, but time had softened the raw edges. There was still respect there, and history, and a bond that didn't disappear just because their marriage had. Most importantly, her parents loved Larry deeply. They had always treated him as if he were their own flesh and blood. For them, Larry had never stopped being family. So Teresa invited him, quietly, personally. "It would mean a lot to my parents," she told him gently over the phone. Larry hesitated, surprised, but eventually agreed. "If it's for them, I'll be there." It seemed like the right thing to do. The morning of the event, Teresa had woken up to a series of messages from her family. One by one, they expressed discomfort, confusion, even disappointment. They weren't angry, just uneasy. Some felt Larry's presence would bring back old memories. Others feared the tension it might create. In a family already struggling with distance and misunderstandings, this felt like too much. And so, each of them chose quietly not to attend. Teresa read the messages slowly, her heart sinking a little deeper with each one. She had wanted the evening to be a celebration. Instead, it became a delicate balancing act between honoring the past and respecting the present. During the event, as the lantern light shimmered around her and the music flowed through the air, Teresa watched her parents enjoy themselves. They danced slowly under the night sky, their faces glowing with simple happiness. From a distance, they looked like two young souls in love all over again. Seeing them that joyful made her heart swell with warmth, but also twist with guilt. Larry stood on the far side of the garden, dressed neatly in a charcoal suit. He kept a respectful distance, engaging in small conversations, occasionally sipping his drink. Whenever his eyes met Teresa's, he offered a small, grateful smile. He knew the price of his presence. She knew it too. And in the midst of celebration, Teresa felt a hollow quietness inside her, a silence only she could hear. Later that night, as the last guests drifted away, Teresa stood alone near the patio. The candles flickered softly around her. Larry approached slowly. "You okay?" he asked gently. Theresa took a breath before answering. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she whispered. "For my parents. For everyone. I didn't think it would push my family further away." Larry nodded, understanding more than his words could show. "You followed your heart," he said. "Sometimes that's all we can do." There was a comfortable silence between them, a silence shaped by years of shared memories, pain, growth, and acceptance. "Thank you for coming," Theresa said quietly. "For them." Later, when Theresa was cleaning up the remaining glasses and folding tablecloths, Veronica walked over, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's arm. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "I know you feel guilty, but tonight was beautiful, and you did what you thought was right. That's all a person can ever do." Theresa's eyes glistened. "It just hurts, seeing the empty chairs." Her mother smiled sadly. "Families go through rough patches. Distance, misunderstandings, they're part of the journey. But love doesn't disappear. Not really." However, on an early autumn afternoon, Long Island's sky was washed in pastel orange, as if the universe itself had dipped a brush in paint to soften the day for a woman who was carrying too much grief. The studio where Theresa Caputo held her private readings smelled of white sage and warm vanilla candles. A camera crew waited quietly, not wanting to break the delicate spiritual silence that always seemed to surround the space before a powerful connection. The door gently opened. A woman in her late 30s stepped inside. Her name was Emily Harrington, a school teacher from upstate New York. Her eyes were tired, not from lack of sleep, but from months of grief that collected behind them like dark, heavy shadows. She clutched a silver necklace with a small kayaking paddle charm dangling from it. She kept running her thumb over it as if it were the only thread tying her to the world. Theresa walked over, her signature hair gleaming as bright as the early sunset. She gently placed a hand on Emily's arm. "Sweetheart, you've been holding so much inside," Theresa said softly. Emily's lips trembled, but she nodded without speaking. It had been 8 months since her husband Mark, a joyful, adventurous man with a smile that could light up a room, had died in a tragic kayaking accident. They had been married for 9 years. They were supposed to celebrate their 10th anniversary on the very river where he took his last breath. Theresa invited her to sit. Cameras quietly rolled. "Before you tell me anything," Theresa said, "I just want to let spirit speak." Emily inhaled shakily. She had watched Long Island Medium for years, but sitting in front of Theresa felt different. More real, more terrifying, more hopeful. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, a familiar stillness washing over her. Okay, she whispered. "I'm hearing water. A lot of water. Like rushing water." Emily froze. Theresa continued. "Someone's stepping forward. Young male energy. Very outdoorsy. He's showing me trees, camping gear, and a kayak. Sweetheart, did someone pass in an accident involving a river or lake?" Emily broke instantly. Tears streamed down her face, her chest trembling. "My husband, Mark, he was kayaking alone. There was a storm. They found him the next morning." Her voice cracked painfully. Theresa nodded gently, as if she could physically touch the grief and soothe it. "He's stepping forward so strongly," Theresa said. "This man is showing me that he watches over you every single day. He's saying the number 10. Did you two have something special about your 10th year together?" "Our 10th anniversary," Emily whispered. "We were supposed to go to the Adirondacks. He had planned everything." She wiped her tears. "I found the itinerary in his backpack." Theresa took a deep breath, her voice softening even more. "He tells me he doesn't want you to feel guilty. Why is he showing me guilt around the trip? Did you cancel something that you keep blaming yourself for?" Emily covered her mouth with both hands and sobbed. "I told him to go without me," she said between breaths. "I had school meetings. I thought it was okay. I thought it was safe. If I had gone, maybe it wouldn't have happened." Theresa shook her head. "No, sweetheart. He's saying stop. Very clear. He's saying this was not your fault. He's showing me that the water conditions changed suddenly. This was something no one could have predicted." Emily cried harder, but she was finally breathing. Theresa continued. her eyes scanning the space as if reading invisible words. "He's telling me you still keep his kayak paddle in the garage, leaning against the wall?" Emily gasped. "Yes, I haven't moved it. I can't." "He wants you to know that he's touched it. Recently. He's showing me that he comes to you through that paddle. When you walk by it, when the light hits it, he's there. He wants you to feel him instead of avoiding that space." Emily nodded, clutching her necklace tighter. "He also shows me that you're having dreams of him calling your name from far away, but you can never reach him." Emily's eyes widened. "I have that dream almost every week?" Theresa softened her tone again. "He's explaining that the dream isn't about you losing him. It's him trying to show you he's okay. He says your grief is making it hard for him to come through clearly. He wants you to know he's safe, he's at peace, and he's not in pain." Emily let out a shaking breath she had carried for months. "And he's showing me something else," Theresa added with a smile. "Did he call you Em?" Emily instantly smiled through her tears. "Yes, all the time. He says, 'Em, please live again.' He wants you to get back on the water. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. He's telling me he loved kayaking because you loved how free he felt. He wants you to feel that freedom too." Emily stared at Theresa, overwhelmed. "I don't know if I can go near the river again." Theresa leaned forward. "You will. Not because you have to, but because he'll help you. He'll be with you every step of the way." Emily finally smiled. For the first time in 8 months, the smile almost reached her eyes. "And one more thing," Theresa said. "He's showing me a lantern, like an old camping lantern." "Why?" Emily gasped again. "I found his lantern after the funeral. It's old, rusty, but it still works. I kept it by my bed. He says, 'Thank you for keeping my light on.' He wants you to know that he keeps your light on too." The room fell silent. Even the camera crew wiped tears. Emily exhaled, a long, heavy breath that finally released the aching weight she had carried since the accident. "Thank you," she whispered. I feel like I can breathe again." Theresa squeezed her hand. "That's exactly why Spirit brought you here." Emily stood up to leave. Before she reached the door, she turned back. "For the first time," she said softly, "I feel like he's still with me, not lost in that river." Theresa smiled warmly. "He never left you, sweetheart. Love doesn't drown. Love doesn't disappear. Love transcends everything, even the deepest water." As Emily walked out into the orange, fading light, she touched her necklace, finally feeling warmth instead of pain. For the first time since Mark's accident, the world didn't feel empty. However, the morning sun filtered softly through the windows of a small cafe in Hicksville, Long Island, Theresa Caputo's favorite place to grab a quick tea before her readings. The place was unusually quiet, filled mostly with people tucked into corners, wrapped in their own thoughts. Theresa loved mornings like this. They gave her space to breathe before stepping into the emotional whirlwind of her work. She had a private session that afternoon, one her assistant had warned her would be heavy. The client, a woman named Marianne, hadn't given much detail. She'd simply said she needed clarity and peace, 2 things Theresa always tried her best to help people find. At exactly 2 p.m., the door of Theresa's reading room opened. A woman in her early 50s stepped in, her shoulders hunched, her eyes dimmed with years of grief rather than months. She clutched a small canvas tote bag to her chest as though it held her entire world. "Hi, sweetheart," Theresa said gently, rising to greet her. "You must be Marianne." The woman nodded. "Thank you for seeing me. I don't really know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm hoping for anymore." "Well, listen," Theresa said, touching her arm lightly. "You don't have to know. Spirit usually knows before you even walk through that door." Marianne managed a small, shaky smile. As soon as they sat down, Theresa felt a sudden pressure in her chest, tight, heavy, like someone trying to speak through tears. "Oh boy," Theresa whispered, closing her eyes. "I'm getting a young male energy, very young, late teens, early 20s maybe." Marianne's breath hitched. Theresa opened her eyes. "Did you lose your son?" He's stepping forward very quickly. "Yes," Marianne whispered. "My son, Daniel. He was 19. The air in the room felt charged, as if the temperature shifted by several degrees. Theresa felt a wave of overwhelming sadness, followed by a strong, insistent feeling of love. "He's showing me you holding his hand," Theresa said, over and over again, just holding it like you were trying to hold on to time. Tears spilled from Marianne's eyes. "That's how he died. I held his hand the whole night." Theresa placed a hand over her heart. "He's also showing me machines, tubes, a hospital room." "Yes," Marianne choked. "He was in a terrible car accident. They said he had no brain activity. They said he wouldn't recover. But they left the final decision to me, and I chose to remove the life support." Her voice cracked. She covered her face with her hands. "I've lived every day wondering if I killed my son," she whispered. "Every single day." Theresa inhaled sharply. Spirit flooded her with a feeling so strong she nearly leaned forward. "Sweetheart," she said softly but firmly, "he is shouting at me. This wasn't your fault." Marianne sobbed quietly. Theresa closed her eyes again. "He's saying, 'Mom, you didn't let me go. You let me be free.'" Marianne's shoulders trembled. "He's showing me. He had already left his body," Theresa continued. "Spiritually, he wasn't in pain. He wasn't scared. He wasn't trapped. He's showing me you standing beside the hospital bed, whispering to him. You told him it was okay, that he didn't have to fight anymore." "I did," Marianne whispered. "I told him I loved him and that I would be okay somehow." Theresa nodded. "He heard you. He wants you to know he heard every single word." Suddenly, Theresa felt a sudden lightness, like a weight lifting. She smiled softly. "He's telling me you kept his favorite blue hoodie," Theresa said. Marianne gasped. "I sleep with it. I couldn't let it go." "He loves that," Theresa said. "He's laughing, actually. He's saying, 'Mom, you didn't even like that hoodie when I wore it.'" Through her tears, Marianne let out a small, genuine laugh. "It was old and faded, but now it's all I have." The room grew peaceful. Spirit's energy felt calmer now, like a gentle breeze wrapping around them. Theresa leaned forward. "He's showing me a very important symbol. He's placing your hand over his heart. This means one thing." Marianne looked up slowly. "You made the right decision," Theresa said, voice deep with certainty. "He wants you to release the guilt. He's saying, 'Mom, you gave me dignity. You gave me peace. You didn't end my life. You ended my suffering.'" Marianne covered her mouth, crying, but this time her tears carried relief rather than torment. Theresa continued, her voice warm and steady. "He says if he could hug you right now, he would. He's standing behind you. I can feel him. He's placing his hands on your shoulders." Marianne closed her eyes, and for the first time in years her breathing slowed, her body relaxed, her pain softened. "He's showing me daisies," Theresa added suddenly. Marianne's eyes fluttered open. "Daisies were his gift to me every Mother's Day." "He's giving them to you now," Theresa said. "A whole field of them. He's surrounding you with them. He's telling me this is his way of saying thank you." There was a long, quiet pause. For the first time since she had arrived, Marianne wasn't shaking. Her face, still wet with tears, looked lighter, softer, almost peaceful. However, it was a crisp autumn morning in New York when Rosie O'Donnell walked into the familiar, softly lit studio where Theresa Caputo often held her private readings. The scent of lavender and sandalwood filled the air, mingling with the faint hum of city life outside. Rosie's hands were slightly trembling as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, her usually animated face now quiet, carrying a weight she rarely revealed publicly. Theresa, sensing the gravity in Rosie's energy the moment she stepped in, gave her a warm, reassuring smile. "Rosie, it's good to see you. Just breathe. Everything you need to hear will come," she said gently, motioning for Rosie to sit across from her. The medium's table was simple. Just a few candles, a small crystal, and an old photo of Theresa's grandmother, but the atmosphere was charged with an almost tangible presence. Rosie nodded, taking a deep breath, and folded her hands in her lap. I don't really know what to expect, Theresa. I just know I need some answers," she whispered. Her eyes glistened as if holding back a river of emotions. Theresa closed her eyes for a moment, reaching out with her energy, connecting to the unseen. "I feel a lot of love around you, Rosie, but also a lot of pain. There's someone here very close to you who has passed, and they're trying very hard to communicate." Her voice was soft, almost reverent. Rosie's breath hitched. "Is it my mom?" she asked quietly. Her voice broke slightly. Theresa nodded. "Yes, she's with you. She's telling me she's proud of you, Rosie. She's been watching you, cheering you on, even in moments when you doubted yourself." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle in. "She keeps saying she wants you to let go of some guilt you've been carrying. There's something you've held on to for years that you've blamed yourself for. And she's telling you now, it's not yours to bear." Tears welled up in Rosie's eyes. She had never spoken openly about this feeling, even to her closest friends. The tension she had carried for decades, that lingering shadow of regret, seemed to lift slightly as she whispered, I didn't know. I thought it was my fault." Theresa reached out, placing her hand gently over Rosie's. "It wasn't. You were a child, Rosie. You did the best you could. She wants you to forgive yourself. She wants you to feel peace." A sudden chill passed through the room, and Rosie shivered, not from the air conditioning. Theresa continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm seeing other people too. Family members you've lost, who were important to you. They're all here. Your father, your uncle. They're surrounding you in love. They want you to feel supported, not alone." Rosie's hands shook, and she pulled them to her face, tears streaming freely. I didn't realize I missed them this much. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear this." Theresa nodded knowingly. "They're showing me moments from your past. Moments where you were happy, moments where you were scared, moments where you thought you were alone. But they're all here now, telling you, you never were alone. You never are." There was a pause, a silence that seemed to stretch for minutes, yet it was comforting, like the stillness just before a dawn sunrise. Theresa's eyes opened slowly. "Rosie, I need you to feel this fully. There's one more message from someone very unexpected." Rosie looked up, curious but cautious. "Who?" Theresa smiled gently. "It's someone who brought laughter into your life. Someone you may not even have thought about in years. They're reminding you of the joy you've carried, even in the darkest times. They want you to remember that laughter is a form of love too. It heals." Rosie laughed through her tears, a soft, shaky laugh, the kind that comes when a heavy heart starts to lighten. I think I know who you mean," she said, her voice trembling with warmth. Theresa's eyes sparkled. "Good. That's exactly it. They're saying, keep laughing, Rosie, keep living, keep loving." And they're surrounding you, all of them, with this unconditional, endless love. Rosie's tears turned into quiet sobs, then a gentle smile spread across her face. She took a deep breath, feeling a weight she hadn't even realized she'd carried slowly begin to lift. "Thank you, Theresa. I don't know how to say it, but I feel lighter. I feel at peace." Theresa reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's exactly what they want, Rosie. To see you happy, to see you free, to see you embrace life without fear or guilt." Rosie sat back, wiping her eyes. The room seemed warmer now, brighter. Even the faint hum of the city outside felt softer, more distant. "It's incredible. I didn't think I'd ever feel this connected to them, to myself, to everything." Theresa smiled knowingly. "It's always been there, Rosie. They've never left you. You just needed to see it, to feel it. And now you do." For the next several minutes, the two women sat quietly, just breathing, just letting the presence of love fill the room. Then Rosie, smiling through her tears, finally whispered, "I feel like I can finally laugh again. Really laugh, like my heart is free." Theresa nodded, her eyes soft. "That's the gift, Rosie. That's what they wanted you to feel all along. Remember this moment. Hold on to it. Whenever you feel alone, they're still with you. Always." Rosie stood, hugging Theresa tightly. "Thank you Thank you for bringing them to me. I needed this more than I knew." As she walked out of the studio, the autumn sunlight spilling across the street, Rosie felt a warmth she hadn't felt in years. The love of those she had lost, the laughter of those she had cherished, the healing of a heart long burdened. All of it wrapped around her like an invisible, comforting cloak. And for the first time in a long while, she truly believed she was not alone, and she never would be. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.